What's up, guys? It's me, Quovtsin, and today I wanted to bring you a short summary of BlizzCon 2020. And even though Blizzard spilled the beans a few days earlier, we got to hear it all, what's coming up next for World of Warcraft. We got to hear it yesterday. So I wanted to make a quick video, like a summary of the main points of what is next for World of Warcraft. So, as we heard, we got two big news for World of Warcraft, what is next. And one of them is that TBC Classic is going to be coming out, which is awesome. And as well, we got some new information of what's coming up next for the Shadowlands. We got a short view of what is going to be happening in patch 9.1. So that is also amazing. So we will have a look at that. So the point of this video is to really give you a short summary of what happened. So I will be cutting up the video to give you the main points that they talked about in BlizzCon. And after that, I will just share my thoughts, try to explain the points further so that you have all the information. And yeah, let's just not beat around the bush and let's go for it.
You dare enter my realm. Your foolishness has brought you to this end. Take my blood and choke on it.
Death to the outsiders!
I'll turn your world upside down!
You are not prepared.
So we're going to remove spell batching with Burning Crusade.
And they want a challenge. They want more of a challenge. So, you know, rather than always giving them like the last version of the boss, the final form of the boss, which maybe has been hit with a few nerfs, let's not do that anymore. Let's give them a more challenging version of the boss.
And so one of the changes that we are going to make is we are going to give the opposite faction's seal to the other faction, but we're going to do that at max level. So we keep just a little bit of that faction identity where Horde will get Seal of Blood at level 64 on schedule, and then get Seal of Vengeance at level 70. And similarly, Alliance will get Seal of Vengeance at level 64, and then their equivalent, Seal of the Martyr, at level 70.
And another change, we're going to give players access to Blood Elf and Draenei early, so that before we actually open the Dark Portals, you'll have a chance to level those up.
We're going to start with Karazhan and Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon's Lair. And we want to start with just that released because we found with Classic that people really enjoy that kind of gear progression, and that's where all the tier 4 gear is with those raids. And we want people to have an opportunity to level up, catch up to their friends, and all kind of go through these things together. So as we unlock each chapter, we want to make sure everybody's had enough time to be part of that chapter. And the next chapter after that will be Phase 2, which will be Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep.
Yeah.
Then next we move on to Phase 3, which is Hyjal and the Black Temple. And the reason that's a change is, of course, originally Hyjal was available from the launch of Burning Crusade, but nobody could really get in there because of the way the attunements work. So we'll unlock that as a later chapter alongside Black Temple. And then that'll go with Arena Season 2 at that point. And then Arena Season 3 will come out alongside Zulaman with a little bit of catch-up gear for anybody who's taken that long to catch up. It's another smaller instance, a 10-man. And then finally, Phase 5 will be Sunwell and Arena Season 4.
The current servers you're on now, classic live servers, are going to become what we're calling progression servers. And what that means is the servers that are live now will always unlock any expansion we release. So when we get to our patch day, you're going to be presented with a choice. Do you want to continue on into the Burning Crusade, or do you want to move to Classic? So in that space, you're going to do that for every single character. We will be launching Classic Era Realms at the same time as we do our patch, and you will have that choice. So when you make the choice to go to Burning Crusade Classic, or you make the choice, like on my example, my level 40 Druid, I want to move that character to Classic Era. And what Classic Era means is that those particular servers are going to stay in that era forever. So that is going to remain classic till the end of time. It's never going to unlock expansions. You'll be able to make that choice for every single character. Do you go on to Burning Crusade, or do you choose to go to Classic Era? Let's say, you know, you're behind the times a little bit. You'll still be able to have that choice. We haven't locked it to a time window. You're not going to miss the boat to Era. We are going to offer a level 58 boost for purchase, but it does come with some restrictions. So it's going to be 1 per account. It's not going to be usable on Blood Elf or Draenei. It'll have some dungeon blues. It'll have level 40 mount skill, no professions. It's the basics, basically your Outland starting kit.
So we're going to actually offer a paid service to let you make a copy of your character.
This will be happening in 2021. For sure, we are committed to doing that. And what we're looking at is starting the beta rather soon. So hopefully that beta will go up and we'll get that running. The community can come and participate, help us out. We'll start to hear some feedback on the things we've talked about today. If there's any adjustments we need to make, we want to make sure we have a long enough beta period for that to happen. And then we'll get that out to the players so you can all enter the Dark Portal.
All right, so TBC Classic is coming in, which wasn't really that unexpected, but seeing it officially announced is very awesome. I actually got introduced to World of Warcraft towards the end of TBC, so for me this is amazing. I'll happily play TBC because I didn't play it very much. I started towards the end, and I actually played on private servers as well, because I was very young, I didn't have any money, and I was a complete noob as well. So during that time, I was actually learning the game. And one thing that this implies to me is that we are one step closer towards Wrath Classic, which is what I'm looking forward to the most. So that is my main takeaway from this, is that I'm really hyped that we are one step closer to Wrath Classic, because seeing them release TBC Classic and the way they talked about era servers and the servers that are available now will always unlock expansions. They said expansions, so that means they're planning on releasing every single expansion in a classic fashion moving forward. So that is great to hear, and I'm very happy about this. I actually want to play TBC. I know it's one of the best expansions, and I didn't get to play it, so I am very much looking forward to Classic. So the first thing they talked about is that they will be removing spell batching, which I think is a welcome change, because as they said, spell batching brings in a bit of delay. So removing this should smooth out the game, and I think it's a good change. Obviously, not everyone is going to be happy about this, but I think it's going to smooth out the game a lot, and it's going to make it better. Then they talked about the fact that they will be releasing the raids in their pre-nerf state, because they think that people are much better at the game right now, and they want raids to be challenging, which I completely agree with. I think we've gotten much better at the game, and this will allow the guilds that actually played in TBC and they were not able to kill those bosses pre-nerf, they can come back and attempt it again, and try to kill it pre-nerf, and that will give them a sense of progression and a sense of satisfaction that after all these years they can actually go back and do it pre-nerf. So that is a good change. And as well, they talked about that they will be closely looking at this and they will make balance changes accordingly if maybe they are still way too difficult. So that honestly makes a lot of sense. They just release it as it was, and if there are any problems, they will just tweak it accordingly, so that is perfect. Then they talked about faction balance, where, as you know, TBC brings the Draenei's to the Alliance and Blood Elves to the Horde, which means that the Horde can now make Paladins, as well as the Alliance can make Shamans. And to give them a bit of fantasy, like class fantasy, they gave Blood Elves a Blood Elf only seal, which is the Seal of Blood, and the Alliance got the Seal of Vengeance. And Seal of Blood was a lot stronger than Seal of Vengeance. And then all the way in Wrath, they actually added Seal of the Martyr for Alliance, and they gave Seal of Vengeance to the Horde. So they're making a change this time around where they will actually give Seal of the Martyr and Seal of the Vengeance to Alliance and Horde respectively at level 70. And since I didn't play TBC, I don't have much to say about this. All I know is that what I've heard, people say that Seal of Blood was very overpowered. So I know that a lot of people will not be happy about this change, and a lot of people will be happy. Alliance players will be happy with this. So I'm not really gonna go into that. They said they're gonna do it, so there's not much we can do about that. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. I'm sorry, I just think that it could be a good change. We'll have to see in the beta how the balancing looks like, and you can provide feedback there, obviously, in the beta, and maybe they'll decide to make further changes to this. And next thing they said is that there will be a pre-patch that will allow you to create a Draenei or a Blood Elf before the Dark Portal opens. So this is very good. This will allow you to get to level 60 or to level 58 on your new character. If you really want to play a Draenei or a Blood Elf, you can do that before the actual TBC expansion goes live. You can level to 60 before the Dark Portal even opens. So I think this is a really good change. So I know that whenever the pre-patch hit, I will actually be making my Draenei Shaman and trying to level it up as much as I can. Then they talked about the phases. Not really much to say about here. The phases make a lot of sense. So phase 1 will be Karazhan, Gruul, Magtheridon. Phase 2 will be Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep. Phase 3 will be Hyjal and Black Temple. Then phase 4 will be Zulaman, and phase 5 will be the Sunwell. That makes perfect sense, so let's move on. Then they talked about the implications of the servers, what is going to happen when TBC hits. And they said that once the pre-patch hits, or once TBC hits, you will, on each of your characters that you have on Classic, you will have the option to either move that character to the Burning Crusade or keep it in Classic. And they will be making era servers that will have just that expansion on them. So if, for example, you have 2 characters on your current Classic realm, they said that the current Classic realms that are up and available right now, those servers will always unlock expansions, so those servers will always move on to the next expansion that comes in line. So if you decide to, you have 2 characters on your Classic server, on one you choose to move to TBC, so your character will remain on that server that will be going to TBC. And if on your other character you decide to keep it in Classic, that character, I assume, will be moved to an era server. I don't know how they're gonna do this logistically, where they will probably create new realms, era realms, and maybe if you choose on your character that you want to go to a classic era server, you then will have a choice of which server you can go to. So this is a very welcome change, because I know that many people will probably not want to move on to the Burning Crusade, or they will want to play on both, of course. So it is great that Blizzard is giving us this option to either move on or stay. So then they talked about character boosts. So you can boost one character to level 58 for real life money, and it's only a one-time thing. You can only boost one character on one account to level 58. And honestly, I don't know, I think it's okay. Like, if someone, this is like mainly meant for completely new players that, I don't know, have friends that play World of Warcraft, and they talk all about, they're gonna start talking about, oh my god, like the Burning Crusade is gonna come out, it's gonna be amazing, it was one of the best expansions. And this friend is gonna be thinking about it, he's gonna, okay, I'm gonna buy the game and I'm gonna play with you since you're talking about it so much. It sounds awesome, it looks nice. So this will be a great way for new players to be able to start playing with their friends. And I think it's okay if it's only a one-time thing where you can only do it once on one account. I think that's okay and it kind of makes sense. And the boost is not applicable to Drenais or Blood Elves, which I think is good. You will have the pre-patch to level them up, catch up, and if not, you can just level them normally, so that's no problem. And they also talked about the fact that you can pay to up your character. So if you have your main character that's on Classic right now, and you want that character to stay on Classic and move to TBC as well, you can do that. It will, of course, cost money, but that's okay. I think this option is a good thing, because as the guy in the video talked about, you have your character, you want to play TBC with that character, but you also want to finish the vanilla expansion, like you're missing a few pieces of gear, you want to get those. So being able to have one of your characters on both of these servers is a very good thing. I like it. And finally, they talked about the release date. It will be happening this year. So I'm pretty sure we can expect this to release towards the end of the year, around October, November, just as with any expansion. And yeah, the beta will be coming in soon. So we have a lot to look forward to. So that is it for the announcements for the Burning Crusade. I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, now let's move on to the Shadowlands announcements.
Look around you!
What makes you believe you're not just a weapon to achieve his ends?
Enough! Join our cause, or be made to serve.
Right now, you hold all the power. Make your choice, Sylvanas Windrunner.
Despite all our efforts, the Maw continues to grow. What if Denathrius' treachery is irreparable? The Primus is lost, and Bastion cannot save the Shadowlands alone.
None of this should have happened.
Perhaps the Winter Queen could...
My Archon, a living soul, seeks an audience.
A mortal?
A king. By all our measures, one who has spent his life striving for justice. One who would give anything to serve his people. One whose heart is true.
Very well. He may approach. Step forward. My Ascended have spoken of you. The king held captive in the maw.
That prison could not hold me forever.
Why have you come to Bastion?
You have a key that I need.
You will release this soul from your grasp.
No. He is bound to me.
Just as you once sought to bind your own brother. The vessel performed its part flawlessly. 3 keys remain. Then they will see. Death was never meant to be chained.
Some of the new rewards we'll find within the Maw include this Maw-themed undead horse, and a Maw hand mount that is actually a giant severed hand of domination that you'll ride on the wrist section of in a really creepy and cool manner. First, we've got some major story quests, including a lot of the main characters of the Shadowlands that are centered most specifically around the designs and plans of the Jailer and his attacks on our allies in our covenants. We will be taking revenge by taking the fight directly to the Jailer in the Maw and forming a permanent presence there with all 4 covenants. We'll be exploring some never-before-seen sections of the Maw, including this new area known as Quovtsin and its various mysteries. We will be taking the fight directly to the Jailer himself in the Sanctum of Domination raid, which has the final boss as Sylvanas Windrunner. And we'll be making updates to Torghast, including some never-before-seen wings, floors, creatures, and powers. We'll be introducing a new mega dungeon themed around the brokers as a floating broker trading city with new bosses to fight there and some very unique loot to obtain. We're going to be expanding upon the conduits and soulbind systems and adding additional choice and power to your presence within your covenant. And alongside that, we'll be seeing some brand new Covenant rewards, including Covenant-themed flying mounts and Covenant-themed cosmetic armor sets, both of which will be available in a variety of different colors to collect. And finally, we'll be seeing the launch of Shadowlands Season 2 and everything that entails.
Alright, we first obviously need to start talking about that cinematic. That cinematic was sick, and there is a lot of information and a lot of Easter eggs in there that we need to talk about. And the first one is, of course, when Anduin passes by Uther. Uther touches his scar left by Frostmourne and looks at Anduin in a very preoccupied manner, which can obviously be interpreted as either the fact that Anduin resembles Arthas a lot. So Uther might be like, oh my god, is this Arthas? And the way he touches his scar, that obviously kind of makes a reference to Harry Potter, where whenever Voldemort was close, Harry felt it in his scar. It started giving him pain and whatnot. So I know that Uther felt the same energy that killed him with Frostmourne from Anduin. So, and we obviously get that revealed once he comes towards Kirestia. Kirestia also senses it, finds it out, and tells the Jailer to release the soul immediately. And that's when Anduin goes ham, turns into the Lich King 2.0 or something different. I guess we might find that out later on. And dabs Curestia and sucks up something from her chest. And I wonder if Curestia is actually dead. Honestly, I assume she isn't dead, because there was this bug in the Spires of Ascension where warlocks were able to kill Curestia during the Devos fight. And when Curestia dies, it gave a warning that as Curestia dies, all life in Bastion cease to exist. So I don't know how canon that is, of course. I would assume it is, just because it is in the game. So seeing Curestia getting stabbed and Bastion didn't get eradicated, I think this means that Curestia is not dead just yet. So then Anduin returns to the jailer. He takes the key from the Mournblade, and the key is literally the logo of the Kyrian. So then he talks about how he needs 3 more keys. So we can probably make the assumption that the keys that he needs are each stored in, or the Covenant leaders have them. So I'm pretty sure the Winter Queen has a key, Denathrius has a key, and the Primus has a key. And him saying that he needs 3 more of these keys is kind of weird, since he was in league with Denathrius. And we don't know what happened to the Primus. I think we can assume that the jailer did something to him. There are a lot of speculations that the Rune Carver is actually the Primus, but who knows? I personally don't think that. So he needs 3 more keys. What he needs those keys for, who knows? Since he is the jailer, he was jailed in the Maw, but Sylvanas somehow released him, so we can assume that those keys are not meant to set him free, because he already was set free. And yeah, we will have to see in the future. We can make a lot of speculations. I might actually rewatch the cinematic multiple more times and think about it, and then maybe release a speculation video. That could be kind of fun. I love speculating. But for now, this is what I'm thinking. And towards the end of the cinematic, he of course pulled something into the Maw, which we already know is the new zone that we will be going to in patch 9.1. It will be part of the Maw. And yeah, that's the cinematic. It was an awesome cinematic. It's got a lot of implications, and I'll for sure release a dedicated video to that cinematic to talk more in depth about it. But now let's move on to what's coming in, new changes with patch 9.1. So the first thing we got to see is some new cosmetic rewards that are Maw themed. We are getting a hand mount, which actually looks really sick. I wonder how we will receive that mount. I'm thinking it will be very similar to the Mechagon / Nazjatar mount, the meta achievement mount for the zone, as the Crab, which was a very special mount. It goes sideways, it's a very amazing mount, as well as the Mecha Cycle from Mechagon for doing activities. So I hope that that mount is not going to be easy to obtain, just because it looks very nice. It's very unique. So if we get this mount, I don't know, just for completing a campaign or something, that would make me very sad. I think this mount is very unique, and it should be given only to dedicated players of the game. So I hope that this mount will be somewhat difficult to obtain. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that mount. It looks amazing. Then they talked about the new raid called the Sanctum of Domination. It's gonna be another 10 boss raid, so it's a big one, which is amazing. I'm very much looking forward to it. They teased a few bosses, the Eye of the Jailer, and they said that the Eye of the Jailer is probably Odin's eye, probably twisted in some way. Then the Terror Grew is gonna be a boss, which I haven't ever seen him. I've never died in Torghast that many times to see him, but I know that he's just a big guy that chases you once you die too many times in Torghast, and some players will be taking revenge on him. So I hope they go crazy with that fight. Maybe make it like a Torghast theme fight, where, for example, it's gonna be like a gauntlet that's impossible to do. We will die, and he's gonna start chasing us. Maybe something similar to the fight in the Halls of Reflection, where we run away from Arthas. And maybe as we're running away, we gather some crazy powers, some anima powers, that we will then use to defeat him, to defend against him, and so on. I hope they go crazy with this fight. It could be really interesting. Then they talked about additions to Torghast. There will be some new wings opening up with new enemies, new powers, and all that. I honestly have to say I don't particularly enjoy Torghast at this point. It is a chore for me. As a Mythic Raider, I need to do Torghast to get my legendaries, upgrade them as much as I can. I don't like the current Torghast, so I hope they add new powers, make it more interesting so that it's actually enjoyable. Right now, I don't enjoy Torghast that much. So let's hope the Torghast changes are going to be good. I really hope they're good, because I'm tired of grinding Torghast. Then they talked about a new mega dungeon, an 8-boss dungeon, which will be themed around the brokers. Which, mega dungeons are awesome. Like, I didn't play much of BFA. I didn't enjoy that expansion very much. So I ran Mechagon only once, and I thought it was very good. I know a lot of people enjoyed Mechagon. It was a great dungeon. And I have very fond memories of the Karazhan dungeon in Legion. I played a ton of Legion, and Karazhan was an amazing dungeon. So hopefully this dungeon will follow that theme. I hope it's going to be very interesting. It's not going to be just a generic dungeon. There are going to be some interesting mechanics. Thankfully, they talked about the latter part of the dungeon, the last 4 bosses, is going to be a heist of sorts, where a broker is going to steal something and we're going to chase him. So it looks like some of the fights are actually going to be unconventional, which I think is a big part of these mega dungeons. They always try and go crazy in them, make some new mechanics, interesting battles. So this looks very promising, is all I have to say. We'll have to see how it looks like in the end, but very promising. Then they talked about potential Soulbind updates, where they talked about adding, of course, new tiers, new powers to the Soulbinds, as well as they hinted that they were considering adding more conduit types. So right now we have endurance, finesse, and potency conduits. So I wonder what route they're thinking of taking with these conduits. Like, what other type of conduit could there be? Maybe like a combination. Maybe like a potency / endurance conduit, or a completely different conduit. We will have to see. They said that they're looking into it. And once the beta opens up, maybe they'll put in a few for us to test. So we have to make sure we give feedback, and they will be looking to expand on the Soulbind system, which is great. I think the Soulbind system feels kind of stale at this point. The paths are already given, there isn't much variance. A lot of classes have only one good potency conduit, so you will always take just one potency conduit, and then take the last slot in the endurance conduit, because the next power gives them actually damage. And I hope they add some new, more interesting conduits, because some of them feel not that great. Like me as an elemental shaman, my 2 best potency conduits is one that just makes my fire elemental last longer. That's kind of a boring conduit, a very passive one. It does increase my damage by a lot, but it's very boring. And my other good potency conduit is just an RNG one, which just gives me a 24% chance for my Covenant ability to reset. There's high variance in that. Sometimes when it resets, it's really fun and it's amazing. My damage goes up by a lot. But if it doesn't reset, it feels bad. It's not a great conduit. So, yeah, then they talked about flying, which will be, I assume, renown gated. They said that this expansion is all about covenants. We will unlock flying as we progress further in our covenants. So it's probably going to be like a renown 50 or renown 60 kind of thing where we unlock flying. And as well as when we unlock flying, we will also unlock a covenant specific flying mount, which is awesome. Is kind of going back to Legion where you got your class mounts. That was a great addition to the game, so this is also great. But the Venthyr mount, like holy shit, that Venthyr mount looks so much better than the others, I'm not gonna lie. And the Bastion mount also looks amazing. The Necrolord mount is interesting, but it just doesn't feel that good. And what the hell is that Fox Dragon or whatever? That looks weird. But it might look great in the end, in game, who knows. Like, I know that in Legion a lot of hunters were disappointed in their Wolf Hawk mount, but it turned out great. I love that mount, it's amazing. And yeah, then they talked about Season 2, obviously a new affix in Mythic Plus, themed around domination. So we can just speculate what that is gonna be. I have no clue. I haven't really given that much thought. I guess since it's domination themed, I guess something around mind control, or since we have like a manifestation of pride, there might be a manifestation of domination that does something and gives you a buff at the end once you defeat it. Or it could be something related to Torghast, for example, where you have those tower sentinels that reduce your haste and movement speed until you defeat them. So that could maybe be it. I think that would be very annoying, to be honest, if there's like a domination sentinel in a dungeon that just reduces your damage or haste while it's active and you need to go kill it to get back to normal. That could be a thing, who knows? We will have to see for the beta what the new seasonal affix is going to be. And yeah, that is pretty much it. The only thing that I'm disappointed of is that they talked about the fact that once we establish a foothold in the Maw, our mounts will be able to hear our call again in the Maw, so everyone is going to be able to mount in the Maw, which to me is kind of disappointing, because I thought that having the Corridor Creeper or the mount from the Shadehound hunt was... Actually, it kind of invalidates running Twisting Corridors for me at this point. I kind of feel like I wasted my time, because it only gave me like a month of mounting in the Maw. Afterwards, everyone will be able to mount. So I think that change is not good. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna welcome that change, but for me personally, I think that's not a good change. But it is what it is. Maybe they'll change it, but yeah. In the next patch, everyone will be able to use their mounts in the Maw. So yeah, that is it for this video. There was a lot of things to talk about, a lot of information given by Blizzard. I think the game is in a healthy state and it's moving in the right direction. And I'm really happy about all of these changes, except for the mount in the Maw thing that I just said. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and see you next time.